Hello, again, Misfits, and welcome to one of my infamous 1 minute review. It's going to be about probably 30 minutes or so. So just sit down, relax, have a cup of tea. I'm going to go over here the Clone Wars version of Pandemic. Now, I actually was super excited to see this. And thanks again to Misfit Tom. He actually nabbed a copy for me because I am a huge Star Wars nerd. I just absolutely love it. And anything Star Wars, you can slap it on whatever and I will play it. So I was ecstatic to get this home. And I think I did a couple of shorts on it with me and my son playing or whatever. We played it that night. And I had a ball with this. So I'm gonna review this real quick and give you guys what I think. And honestly, if you know Pandemic already, if you played a Pandemic game, you're not going to be terribly surprised. You know, it's still a Pandemic system game, and they've been really good about putting out games that are a little bit tweaked and things like that. What makes this game special, other than the Star Wars theming, is that to me, it made Pandemic more enjoyable. So I'll go over kind of some of the changes in how Pandemic works. Now, Pandemic still has the same thing. You have multiple areas, and you have diseases in the original Pandemic. In this one, you have droids, basically separatists spreading throughout the galaxy. Unlike normal Pandemic, though, you have an end-win condition. It isn't just about surviving and curing the diseases. You actually have to beat somebody, and you actually have 4 or 5 different options. In the base one, you use Asajj Ventress, seen here. And you actually can choose, so you have different villains. And that's very important because the villains get their own deck and they do different things during the game. Asajj is very straightforward. She's basically going to run towards the objectives every game. You go around, you pick a Jedi first. Everybody picks, and there's like several Jedi and several nice minis in there. I pick Obi-Wan because, hello there. And you could pick whoever you want. And they all have kind of their own little unique ability, kind of like the scientists in Pandemic. They all get the little extra action or a little extra movement. And much like Pandemic, again, you're going to run around, and instead of solving cubes, you're going to be basically fighting droids, getting rid of them. And the cool change I do like, however, is you're going to also be finishing missions. Now, when you start out the game, you have a couple of random planets that will start out as the missions, and you have to go there and reach a certain score or a certain amount of successes to actually solve them. And that's where the big change is in this game. Instead of having static cards and for stuff like that, you actually have a dice, which, normally I hate dice, but this dice actually isn't too bad. I actually like this one because there's ways to mitigate it. So you'll go to a planet, and every turn you get 4 actions, like regular Pandemic, and that encompasses moving, attacking, and moving, attacking, and completing missions, things like that. So you go to a planet, you'd be like, okay, I'm going here, I'm going to attack. There's 3 droids there. Now, this is where another change comes in. Your hand is kind of static. It's kind of out here. You have your hand of clones, and you have 2 different kinds of clones, and you have walkers, and you have ships. Now, what you do is during the game, you actually turn these sideways to use their ability. All the clones add damage or successes to your attacks and to your solving your mission. The walkers prevent damage, and these let you move a little faster. And they stay out. They stay out the whole game, the whole game, until you take damage. When you take damage, you actually have to start discarding cards off of your hand. So you'll get weaker and stronger as you go. That's the other action you can do. You can just straight up draw cards if you need to. You also have your one-shot cards that just do anything whenever you want. So you'll go to a planet and you want to attack it, and you'll roll a dice, and you'll be like, okay, what do I roll? And there's only 2 symbols on here. You either have successes, or you have successes and damage, or just straight up damage. Like I said before, if you get damage, you discard cards. But if you get successes, that's when you kill things. So 1 success kills a droid. Blockades, which I'll get to later, take 2 successes. And the bosses are variable. Right now, Asajj has 3 health. So you can actually knock her off the board, but she'll come back again and again and again. Now, the cool thing is you can actually adjust that. So with your clones, you turn them sideways, you add successes on. So say I go here, I roll 1 success and a damage. I tap these 2 clones over here, and you can either use red or purple clones. You can't use them at the same time. And basically, you do add damage to it. So it's going to add 2, and I'm going to kill all 3 droids there and clear them off. So it's kind of a variable mechanic. It makes it a little more exciting, a little more interesting. You also prevent the damage. I took a damage, I prevent it. And you go around, you just fight, get rid of the clones, but you also have to keep in mind that it's not a winning battle if you're just knocking clones off. You actually got to complete these missions, because as you go along, the threat level will go up. And what happens is, instead of outbreaking like in normal Pandemic, once you have 3 droids in an area and it explodes, basically you get another droid that you can't put there, you get a blockade. And these are a real pain because they block everything there. You can't attack droids or the villains or anything. You can't do nothing there. So you have to get rid of those guys first, and they take 2 hits, which you have to roll in 1 go. And they don't, at least outbreak to other areas, but every time you put 1 of these guys out, your threat meter goes down, increasing very quickly how quickly you are losing until you get to, Sidious himself. So you have this frantic situation like Pandemic where you're running around and deciding whether or not to take care of the droids or the diseases, or trying to juggle, getting rid of these missions. And me and my son kind of did that. We did both ways. In the beginning, we were taking care of droids and kind of cleared them off the board, but they kept coming back along with Asajj. So we kind of shifted our focus and started doing missions and getting those out. But by the end, I'm telling you, even however you do it, it was still a tight race. At the very end, it came down to like the last turn, and I still had to win on a roll. So it's a very tight game. They created a very, very solid Pandemic. Am I going to win this game kind of thing? But once you know Pandemic, you can kind of get a good rhythm going and win most of the time. And that definitely has this feel to it. It hasn't changed in that regard. And the theming knocks it out of the park. And it's just fun. It's just fun. It makes Pandemic a game that isn't just bleak. I mean, not to say that Pandemic's necessarily bleak. I could win Pandemic, but it isn't about people getting sick and dying. It's you're a Jedi killing droids, and you have cool thematic art, and you have different bosses. And yeah, and by the way, to win the game, of course, you actually have a final showdown thing. Once you do all your missions, the card flips over for the boss that you're fighting, and they have like a final mission or missions, some random thing depending on which villain you're playing that you have to defeat at the end to even win the game. So it adds a lot more to it. It adds some variability. It changes things up rather than just solving the same 4 diseases over and over again. It adds a lot to the game. I'm eagerly already waiting to see what they can add on for expansions. Hopefully they sold well enough where they'll throw on some cool expansions, add more villains, maybe add some more different diseases, droids in, like B2 battle droids would be great, the heavier ones and stuff like that. I had a great time with this, I'm not gonna lie. For Pandemic fans, this is kind of no-brainer if you even remotely like Star Wars. If you like Star Wars and you like Pandemic, this is a surefire knockout. This is a win. If you like Star Wars but haven't played in Pandemic before, this is actually a great introductory game. This is, I think, even a little less complex than normal Pandemic, at least as far as strategy goes. Like, we co-opt a bit. Normally in Pandemic you get talking and have to co-op things, but it's not so tight where if somebody isn't on point, you're going to automatically lose the game. But that said, you do need to work together. I liked it. I liked it a lot. It's a great intro game for people not used to Pandemic, but like Star Wars, like I said. If you like Pandemic and Star Wars, boom. If you don't like the Pandemic system, there's not a lot different here, though. I mean, it still plays kind of like Pandemic. 70%, 80% of the DNA in Pandemic is still here. So it doesn't really change that much. I don't know anybody, though. Do you know anybody who outright hates Pandemic? I don't really know many people who outright hate Pandemic. A few maybe here and there. But I will say if you absolutely hate Pandemic, then probably not the game for you. You're not going to find anything vastly different here. That said, I love the game. Definitely recommend it to anybody, like I said, in multiple categories. Intro game, theme, the whole 9 yards is a great, great package. Minis are great. Also, they look great. All the pieces involved are great. The cards are great. I mean, just get the game, guys. Even if I bought this, I wouldn't feel. Do you feel bad buying this? No, this is an awesome game, guys. I'm gonna actually give this game a solid 4 out of 5. Solid 4 out of 5. The reason it doesn't get a 5 is because it's still Pandemic. So it's not bringing anything drastically new to the table. But this is a great, solid alternative to Pandemic. If you want to play a game like Pandemic but are tired of fighting all the viruses, or just want something Jedi themed that's not overly complicated, and you just get that thrill of going around chopping up droids and solving, beating bad guys, beating Asajj again upside the head. This is a solid game, guys. I had a lot of fun with it, guys. Definitely check it out at your local Target. I think Z-Man Games makes this as well. They make all the Pandemic games. You can't go wrong, guys. Again, don't forget to leave some comments. I hope you're enjoying the half-hour reviews. I'm sorry, 1-minute reviews. Don't forget to like, subscribe, guys. And as always, game on. Oh, wait, no. Hello there.